Yeah.
Our next article is coming from Reuters. Icelanders have petitioned their president to veto a bill called the Icesave Bill, which would pay back banks $5 billion that was lost by British and Dutch savers. A quarter of the voters in Iceland have signed on this petition on this issue, which makes the people generally feel like they're paying for the bank's mistakes. Earlier in that same week, Parliament approved an amended bill to reimburse Britain and the Netherlands for that amount. They are asking President Grimson to call a referendum on this issue, which is actually being connected to the joining of the EU, where there's an agreement that would usher them more quickly into the European Union if this deal is passed. But that also is deeply unpopular with the population there. So these are both very contentious issues. And I mean, the bill in itself was passed by such a narrow margin in the Parliament, 33 for and 30 against, and there's one person that resigned over the matter.
Well, hopefully the people will be able to win out against the bankers. That's all I could say.
Indeed.
Switching over to health news, a World Health Organization scandal. We have a Finnish member of the group. His name is Professor Jumani Eskola, and his organization, the THL, has received 6.3 million euros for vaccine research and other types of research. He received it from GlaxoSmithKline for research on vaccines. Now, he's also in charge at the World Health Organization of SAGE, the Strategic Advisory Group of Experts, which is the group that recommends which vaccines should be used for which countries, how many they should take, how many they need to buy, what they need to get a hold of. And so, not only is this guy in charge of telling countries what they need to buy, he's in charge of also making those same vaccines and getting grant money from other companies in order to make more of them. So he's basically propagating these vaccines out as much as possible, continually for all the different diseases that are coming out.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty blatant conflict of interest, as some may call it, or a cohesion of interest in those positions.
And this article from Dr. Merkele also states that several other World Health Organization experts have financial ties to the pharmaceutical industry, a double role that notably is not published by the World Health Organization. So they don't talk about the fact that they serve on separate boards of companies with possible conflict of interest there.
Nothing to see here, folks. That's probably about all they'll say. In related news, France is selling their surplus flu vaccines. They have millions of surplus flu vaccines. They're selling to other countries, such as Qatar appears to have bought 300,000 doses, and Egypt is negotiating to buy 2 million. Of 94 million vaccines, only 5 were taken by the population there. Health authorities have now found that they have more than enough to deal with the perceived outbreak. Germany and the Netherlands have also announced similar sales to get rid of their surplus vaccines late last year. The head of the World Health Organization the week before, Margaret Chan, said that it was premature to say that the pandemic was over, which would, of course, seem to motivate other countries to want to buy their surplus vaccines. Yeah.
And of course, as the article before just exposed, these people are on the same groups that are recommending the vaccines to buy, that are profiting from the vaccines being made, and then they don't even need all of them, and France is happy to sell off their surplus supplies, but these guys still got their checks cut to them.
Yeah, it's like having a snake oil salesman have your, be the head of your health department.
It's a pretty good scam, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, moving back into some of the body scanner news, which has been quite the headlines lately because of the recent possible terrorist attack on Christmas. In Italy, the Italian minister, Franco Frattini, has said that body scanners are a great thing. He said they're needed for safety, and he said that it's the most reliable instrument, quote. And he thinks that there should be more of them used, and that people's worries about their privacy, they need to set aside for this issue because it's so important for everybody's security. That's what they're doing over in Italy. So it's not just here in America that they're clamping out security, but everywhere else as well.
Yeah, no, so we got Gordon Brown, Prime Minister of England, saying that he's giving the go-ahead for the body scanners at Britain's airports. They previously purchased some of these body scanning machines before. I think 4 of them were at Heathrow Airport, but were never implemented due to privacy concerns, which, you know, are pretty much a legitimate concern that anybody should have.
And again, the body scanners are the ones that see you naked inside of their scanning device.
Mm-hmm. And also Amsterdam's an airport in Amsterdam had 17 scanners that it bought 2 years prior, but was unable to activate after receiving an EU advice that they were privacy and human rights implications. Yeah. But now there's a conference that's going to be held on the issue of the body scanners. You know, following Brown saying that he'll do everything in his power to tighten security. A European Commission meeting will be held soon on whether to endorse the EU-wide use of these machines. You know, considering its previous history, it looks like it's going to be quite a contentious hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Britain, Italy, the whole EU, they're getting right on board with the way that we're doing it in America, I suppose.
Yeah, and another interesting fact too is Ben Wallace, a conservative MP, said that that weekend of the Christmas weekend attempted attack, that the low-density materials used in that plot wouldn't have been detected by these devices. He claims that only shrapnel, heavy wax, and metal, but not plastics, chemicals, and liquids would be detected.
Uh-huh. So they probably won't even do that much good then. It's just going to be a large expense for more people like that Finnish gentleman to line their pockets.
Yeah, and more people that buy the official story, thinking that, you know, something is legitimately being done to protect them in response, when in fact the pre-existing structures that we told to keep us safe, in fact, were bypassed and failed.
Indeed. Well, the next article we have here is in the Down Under, down in New Zealand, and it concerns their cyber spies. The Security Intelligence Service, the SIS, which is essentially their NSA or FBI type group there. They have introduced a new measure which is going to allow all mobile calls, texts, and internet surfing, online shopping, chatting, social networking, Facebook, all these things to all be monitored instantaneously from any point in New Zealand. And, you know, there's a guy in here talking about how it could even monitor a person's location by detecting their mobile phone. All of this is occurring almost instantaneously. And they have a tech guy in here, an IT dude, who says that you know, it's unprecedented for them to have this type of control. Back in the 1980s, they'd have to individually tap people's phones, and now all of it's going wired through a certain building, and all of it's being databased and recorded, and it's just a matter of what's going to be picked out and listened to by certain agents, and what gets filtered out by the software that they have. And so now they're going to be monitoring not only phone calls, but all of the texts, email, internet activity, everything. Same way that Australia is going, actually. So that's down in New Zealand. This is out of the Sunday Star Times.
Another thing that's interesting about that is it says that they'll only need one warrant to gather all electronic transmissions that could deem, you know, that could yield information for.
Yeah, they don't need separate warrants for every different form of communication.
It all applies in
one warrant, and it's valid for all of them.
Yeah, that's pretty much an ideal panopticon state going on right there. Our final story today comes from threatswatch.org, principal analysis on Executive Order 12425, signed by President Obama. Interpol is now no longer subject to the U.S. Constitution, nor any type of search and seizure and screening procedure, which previously, as part of the United States International Organizations Immunities Act, it held them to that standard. Property and assets of international organizations, wherever located and by whomsoever held, shall be immune from search, unless such immunity be expressly waived, and from confiscation, the archives of international organizations shall be inviolable. And so this means that the records of Interpol and other types of organizations are beyond U.S. citizens' Freedom of Information Act requests and from American legal and investigative discovery.